We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Within 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3.
Well, I'd rather give it to you in 2 weeks. We'll have something in 2 weeks.
I would say within 2 weeks or so. Pretty quick. We'll see what happens over the next week or two. We're going to go through a very tough 2 weeks.
We're going to be announcing something, I would say, over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, a lot of years there. In sequence, that's references for the President of the United States about potential airstrikes or continuing ones against Iran. Greenland proposal, Russia-Ukraine talks, stopping the spread of COVID, aviation infrastructure. The common thread, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. I want to bring in our political panel to discuss Democratic strategist Kendra Barkoff Lamy, friend of the program. Republican strategist Erin Maguire, also friend of the program. Great to have you here. Is this just a tick, Erin, like this 2 weeks thing?
You know what? It also sounds like message consistency across the board. When in doubt, 14 days will be the answer from this administration. No, I mean, for him, it's an easy mechanism to kick the can a little and just say, yeah, 2 weeks, give me a little more time, give me a little more time.
Because he knows he will fill up the 2 weeks with other things, and everyone will have forgotten about the 2 week timeline in most cases. Like Greenland. Whatever happened to Greenland?
You'd have to ask the administration, but it's like I said, it's an easy tactic to keep things moving, to keep the conversation going without ever actually being definitive, without ever actually saying this is going to be the hard end date. So he likes to play a little cute. It's not.
Kendra, you knew the president and the vice president, that is to say Joe Biden, well. It almost sounds like a tick like folks or malarkey.
Yeah, I think that is true. I think she's not wrong about kicking the can, and I think people's attention span is not very long these days, and so they forget. But I think the reality here is he doesn't have a strategy to begin with. If he had a clear strategy that he laid out at the front end about why he was doing what he was doing, then I think people would be in a lot different place. But
and in most of those things I just mentioned, infrastructure didn't happen, stop the spread didn't happen in 2 weeks. Russia, Ukraine still waiting. Greenland, not 2 weeks. And we don't know what's going to happen with Iran in the 2 week time period now currently presented to us.
Correct. But in the meantime, gas prices are very high. Prices in the grocery store are still very high. The stock market, while maybe today, maybe the exception, is not doing as well as he claims the economy is doing. And if it keeps going this way, I think Democrats are going to have a very nice election come November, I think. I'm just, guessing here.
So you saw Clay Fuller, the congressman-elect. He said, look, we won. A win's a win. True. But is there anything telling for other Republicans about 14 points when Marjorie Taylor Greene won by 28 and Trump carried that district by 37?
Yeah, you're seeing a bit of a political movement here, and anybody who doesn't acknowledge that is out of their wits here. Now, I know a lot of people say don't take a lot of credit into special elections. They're different. Yes, they are. But so are the electorates we have to look at. And the 24 electorate will be different than the 26 electorate. You get something higher during a presidential election than you do. But either way, when you look at both Georgia and Wisconsin, when we saw elections last night, you are seeing the American people unhappy with Republicans, and that's why they continue to vote to the left. Now, again, the Supreme Court races in Wisconsin, those are nonpartisan. However, everybody knows the side that everybody ends up on.
And the Republicans did not fight that race. They only spent $1 million. They knew they had no chance in that.
There was a ton of money.
It wasn't like the earlier two ones, but they still lost.
They did lose. They did.
Big time.
And that's 5-2 now in that Supreme Court there.
Yeah. What do you see?
And I saw some crazy stat today about how she got more votes than the former president of Syria. I mean, like some insane stat about how many people went out to vote. And so I think it is telling you that people are excited about the possibility of change, even though Wisconsin, you're right, it's 5-2. But people want what they voted for before, which is lower gas prices and lower grocery prices, and that's not happening. And so you're seeing people go out to the polls and to the voting booths, I think, in kind of record numbers.
But I also think, to your point about the short attention span, if Iran ends, if gas prices come back down, if the economy is doing better, if grocery prices are coming down, that will have an effect on the midterms. And if that is happening closer to the midterms versus us now waxing poetic in early April, you will see a different outcome. That's not to say I still think that Republicans won't lose the House. I think that the math is very hard for Republicans to hold the House. However, if people are feeling better about the economy and the direction of the country, it will be harder for Democrats to try and overtake the Senate as well.
We have 1 minute left. Kendra, I'll start with you, then I'll end up with you. So Steve Moore, economist, friend of this administration, was on the program yesterday. He said he's worried about the gas prices eating up or eating heavily into the tax refunds people are going to get from the big, beautiful bill, canceling them out or come close to that.
They are very high. You drive around this country, they're almost $4 a gallon. That is a lot. That is, we've gone almost $2
But I mean, the whole of last year was spent on having this big refund.
Correct.
And the political momentum, the fuel that it would provide. Erin?
That's right. The higher costs are for the American people, the less their paycheck does. Even if they get a big tax refund, they're like, great, but now I've had to spend an extra $300 this month on gasoline that I didn't expect, and that very quickly can eat up those funds. The American people live their lives at the gas stations and the grocery stores, and so when their money doesn't go as far there, they care a lot.
Erin Maguire, you get the last word. Kendra, Barkoff, Lamy, thanks to have you. Appreciate it very much.